Global Airlines. They've stormed onto the scene, promising a new golden age of travel with the mighty Airbus A380. It sounds great, right? But after their initial trial flights drew a mixed of often critical reception, and with passenger numbers much lower than hoped, the big question is the airline facing turbulence, or is it just doomed? And with a brand new statement just released from the airline themselves, what does this mean for the future of global airlines? Let's get straight into it. Last week, we caught the arrival of Global Airlines at Manchester Airport. It really did amass a crowd, lots of people celebrating the first arrival of the brand new UK-based super jumbo operator, and it carried out some initial transatlantic passenger flights. So, who's the brains behind this bold move? Global Airlines was officially founded by entrepreneur James Asquith back in 2021. You might know him as the youngest chap to visit every country on Earth, and he also started the travel platform Holiday Swap. His vision for Global? To take us back to the golden age of travel, promising an amazing service, top-notch food, the works across first, business and their global traveller economy class. Apparently, Asquith was just plain fed up with how the flying experience has nosedived on other carriers. And the cornerstone of this grand vision? The Airbus A380. But not just one, a whole fleet of them. They splashed out getting their very own super jumbo, taking the full ownership of it in 2024, saying they were the first new A380 owner in over 8 years, giving an ex-China Southern bird another chance to fly. Whilst most airlines are phasing out the jumbo jets, Global are just getting started with theirs. Then there's a small matter of actually being allowed to fly. Global Airlines currently doesn't have its own air operator certificate. That's the crucial license from the UK Civil Aviation Authority. So, to get those initial flights off the ground, they had to partner with HighFly Malta, essentially operating as a virtual airline. This meant HighFly provided the crew, the operational know-how, and they flew under their license. It's got their name out there, sure, but it's an expensive way to do business, and it really doesn't solve the fundamental problem. This is where reality really started to hit. Global Airlines promised luxury, a fresh new look on board, and to revolutionise commercial flying. But what did passengers who shelled out their hard-earned cash actually get? Well, if you've seen the reviews from YouTubers like Noel Phillips and Josh Cahill, who were on these first flights, it paints a pretty grim picture, to be honest. Noel Phillips flew first class, and while he said that the HighFly crew were friendly and some of the food was okay, his overall take was not so positive. He described the cabin as old and tired. The in-flight entertainment, well, that was completely dead. He highlighted a chaotic meal service and called the much-hyped Sky Pub just a couple of trolleys in a galley. To be honest, when I watched Noel's video, I was impressed with the first class suite. I thought Global had done a great job designing it. It seemed functional, smart, and then we found out it's just a suite from China Southern with some Global stickers slapped on it. Yeah, so not the great first impression we had thought. Then there's Josh Cahill's video, who flew business class. His review was, if anything, even more scathing. He seemingly had to wait an eternity for the food service, and he also mentioned how the staff were not helpful in the slightest and shared many of the same negatives as Noel. I'd highly recommend checking out their videos, as both offer a different perspective of the flight and both do a really good job reviewing the full experience. We also believe they gave really honest feedback as well and really tried to find positives where there were some. The general feedback pointed to a massive disconnect, worn-out cabins that were clearly ex-China Southern with minimal updates, inoperative entertainment systems, and a service that struggled even with a nearly empty plane. Now there's an interesting point. A lot of the passengers on these initial flights were aviation enthusiasts, journalists, and influencers. And you know what? There's a double-edged sword here. Whilst most aviation vloggers and journalists welcome the new startup, they also have the ability to amplify the negatives massively. And it begs the question, why did Global even do these flights in the first place? It's also worth mentioning that on all of these flights, the passengers only sat around a quarter of the aircraft's total capacity. They mention in their statement released just a few days ago that we had the perfect number of passengers on our flights to JFK. These flights were never planned to be full or even close to it, and that was not the point of them. We wanted to test our service and products, and we wanted to focus on our premium cabins. We succeeded on all fronts, and if we had more passengers, we would never have got to test all the elements we wanted to try out. Which of course begs the question, why did they use HighFly to operate the flights? To us, it seems like it was either a training and test flight, or a showcase of the global experience. But by using HighFly to operate and subsequently HighFly staff, service, and not even a global airlines configuration, means that surely no training could be achieved. We've even seen that after the initial flights from Glasgow to New York, on the subsequent flights, people were no longer permitted to make any recordings of their flight whilst on board without consent from the crew.
Passengers that taking photographs or filming on this aircraft is not permitted without prior permission from the cabin crew.
Which could just be an honest regard for the privacy of the HighFly crew, of course, but it does come across a little like they're just trying to suppress some of the critics of the airline, especially since they only implemented that after the initial negative response. Global did say in their statement since, "Hopefully, we will be forgiven for our first attempt, especially as many have documented the second, third and fourth flights were incredible. Overall, our passenger feedback has been tremendous, and we are hugely grateful for that." So, why is Global Airlines betting on the A380 when almost everyone else is running away from it? It's a beautiful, awe-inspiring aircraft, no doubt, but it's a product of a different era. The main reasons airlines are getting rid of their A380s really boils down to the cost and efficiency of the aircraft. 4 engines mean a lot of fuel, they're expensive to maintain, and you need to fill a huge number of seats consistently to make them profitable. Most airlines have found that more flexible, fuel-efficient twin-engine jets like the Dreamliner and the A350 just make more economic sense for the routes that they fly. The big exception, of course, is Emirates. They've built their entire global hub and spoke model around the A380, connecting massive passenger flows through Dubai. They have the scale, the routes, and the passenger volume to make it work where others can't. But Global Airlines just isn't Emirates, not even close. For a startup to think that they can make an old second-hand A380 work on competitive routes where even the giants have struggled is a monumental challenge. Launching an airline, especially with an A380, costs an astronomical amount, and there were rumours of a strategic shift in the airline. They allegedly wanted to operate more on an ACMI basis, meaning that they would focus more on leasing their A380 out to other airlines to fly on their behalf, instead of focusing on scheduled commercial flight. However, they did rule this out, stating, "We're not planning to change any strategy to become an ACMI operator. ACMI has always been part of our discussions with HighFly, but nothing has changed about our direction of travel and the vision and ambition we have for the future." So, after all that, is Global Airlines really doomed? Well, let's look as plane spotters. As people who genuinely love aviation, we want nothing more than for them to succeed. But, and this is a big but, support of the plane spotters really doesn't pay the bills in this industry. The evidence we've seen so far is concerning, to say the least. Their initial product on those trial flights fell disastrously short of their golden age promises. The economics of the A380 for a startup are brutal. It feels like Global Airlines is facing an almost vertical climb. Can they pull off a miracle? We'd genuinely love to see it, and they've surprised us lots thus far. So that's our take. What do you think? Is there a path forward for Global Airlines and their A380? Let us know in the comments below.